Good afternoon and welcome to Emory University's Goizueta Business School. Today's web chat will be discussing the student experience in our full-time MBA programs. I'm Nicole Hippass, Director of Program Marketing, and I will be moderating our discussion today. I'm joined by Corey Dortch, our full-time MBA program Senior Director, as well as two current MBA students, Renee and Joy. I'll have them introduce themselves shortly, but first just a little housekeeping. We are recording this chat in its entirety, so if you miss anything that we say or have to jump off early, no problems. We will send it to you via email within a week, along with any slides we show. We also do want this to be interactive, so please submit any questions you have for the panel at any time. We'll do our best to answer them on air, and we also have some folks behind the scenes that can help answer your questions as well. Thank you to those who submitted questions when you registered. We're going to start with some of those once we get to the QA portion, but first I'm going to have the panel introduce themselves.
All right. Ladies first. Start there.
Oh, okay. I'm Joy Halpern. I am a student in the one-year program, so I will be graduating this May. And after business school, I will be joining Boston Consulting Group as a consultant.
Great. Hi, my name is Renee Mesa. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I'm a full-time student, second year in the two-year program, and I'll be headed to investment banking for Bank of America Merrill Lynch.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Dortch. As it was mentioned, I'm Senior Director of the Full-time MBA program. I've been here at Emory for about 13 years, so I think I can answer a few of the questions this afternoon. We're so happy that you all are joining us today.
All right, Corey, we're going to kick off with you.
All right.
Can you talk a little bit about the student experience and how it may differ between the one-year program and the two-year program?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So I work very closely with our student life and engagement opportunities here for our full-time MBA students, both for the one-year MBA program as well as for the two-year MBA program. I've had the pleasure to meet many of you across the globe during the admissions process. I'm very excited to welcome some of you here on Welcome Weekend this weekend, where we'll talk a whole lot more about student life. But as you all know, with the one-year program and the two-year program, we work very hard to have a parallel experience. Although the one-year program, as Joe will attest, is a touch intense, particularly over the summer. So what has happened now, just to kind of bring you up to speed, our GBA, think SGA in high school, GBA stands for Graduate Business Association, elections have already been held for the 2019 class, and that group will govern the student body for the next year. However, there are opportunities both for the one-year program as well as for the two-year program for student leaders to be selected and involved. So for the one-year program, there is a class president as well as a couple of officers, folks who work specifically with career management as well as academics, and some additional projects that we may have prescribed by the GBA. And when folks come in for the two-year and so that president joins the executive cabinet. And then for the 2 years, when those folks come in, there are section representatives that are selected for each of the sections. I know you all are probably very familiar with our academic process here, as well as our curriculum. And so you're divided into 3 sections, section A, B, and C. We're real creative with the name here. And so section A, B, and C will have section leaders that are selected by folks in the two-year class in August, as well as an international representative who will also be your voice on the GBA. So as much as we can, we try hard to parallel the leadership experiences and try to include both one-years who are in the program for a year, as well as first-year MBA students, to those of you who've been in the 2020 class, in the governing body for our GBA.
So you mentioned GBA, our Graduate Business Association.
Yes.
What role do they play? How do they interact with the program office?
Sure.
And then I'd love to kick it over to you guys after Corey answers and just tell a little bit about your experiences about the GBA's influence on the program and student life. Sure.
So I'm going to punt to Renee on this one first, because Renee was Executive Vice President for the GBA. He's graduating, but I think he will have a full-on experience and enjoy, and then I'll come back and talk at the end.
Yeah, so as Corey mentioned, I was the Executive Vice President for the GBA. And while the one-year and two-year program have, different reasons for people going into the programs and some sense of different strategic directions, for the most part, I always liked to consider the 1 year as part of our class. Going into my second year, they were part of our graduating class, and it adds an additional 50 to 60 students into our network, which networking is extremely important in business school. As the Executive Vice President, part of my role was to oversee our student organizations, our clubs, as well as integrate the two programs with the one-year president. So I spent a lot of time with her and getting in front of the 1 years early on and making sure they felt like they were a part of our class and they knew people as soon as they got on campus. As far as the GBA's role with the program office, the CMC, the different stakeholders around campus, essentially we are the voice for our students. We develop these relationships. We have a meeting cadence so that the different stakeholders are more willing to move in the strategic directions that the students want them to move. We have our strategic initiatives that kind of go along with theirs, and things happen better, and communication is clear if there's just one path of direct communication. They're more willing to answer emails if it's coming from one stream as opposed to 200 students at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to add to that, I wasn't on GBA, but I guess I can add what the impression is from students seeing how GBA integrates with the full program. And I definitely think, as Renee touched on, they definitely feel like they are sort of the voice of students. They were absolutely the people that you could go to if you had a question or an issue and needed help getting that resolved. And they sort of there was a lot of opportunities to speak with them and give feedback about the program, and then they would take that to the administration and kind of help make improvements or adjustments as needed. They also did a lot of like the event planning, so a lot of the fun stuff that you do as part of your MBA program. Like we just had formal last weekend. We have kegs every Thursday. They're really involved in that and definitely go above and beyond to make it a really great and fun experience. So you see them all the time, and they definitely do a lot for the school. And I guess we also had touched a little bit on the 1-year and 2-year program, but I can just add a perspective as a 1-year student on what student life is like. I would say for me, Corey talked about how the 1-year program is a little bit more intense, but I really truly do feel like you get a lot of the same opportunities that you would get from a full-time 2-year program. There was absolutely opportunities when we joined the full student body in the fall to participate in clubs. I have leadership roles in several groups, and that's a great way to also get to know the Renee's class, the 2-year class. And so I would definitely recommend people who are in the 1-year program to take advantage of that. I think it is what you put into it, but the opportunities are absolutely there. So it's just a matter of you taking advantage of them.
Absolutely. And speaking of opportunities for folks to take advantage of, so in addition to what Joy and Renee mentioned, what you're seeing right now is a slide of about 35 of our student clubs and organizations. So just take a minute to look at those. In addition to what they said, obviously, I work closely with each of these clubs and kind of helping to execute your student life experience. The clubs are definitely a strong part of that. Clubs are open, obviously, for our 1-year MBAs as well as our 2-year MBAs. Quite exciting. Those of you, and I know you're maybe aware of the onboarding overnight, and we'll talk a bit about onboarding a little bit later on. But this year, during your overnight experience, a host of the student leaders, so presidents and executives of all of the clubs will have an opportunity to engage with you at your overnight during dinner. So it'll be a great opportunity for you to follow up and ask more questions of the club leaders. There are positions and opportunities available for 1-years within all of the clubs as well. So be on the lookout for that too.
So we have more than 60 student clubs and organizations that we offer. We're showing a subset of them on the screen now. I'd love to hear from you, Renee and Joy. You guys have been involved in various clubs. What was that experience like? What role do they play in not only your academics, but career preparation?
Absolutely. So our clubs are divided into 4 different categories, if you will. We have our academic professional clubs, such as finance club, consulting club, marketing club. I was a part of the finance club, which from even before I stepped on campus prepared me for my job in investment banking. Very structured. As long as you follow their path, things can turn out well. There are social groups. We have our wine and food club. We have our coffee club. There are affinity groups. We have our Black MBA, Latino MBA Association, LGBT, and as far as also religious groups. And then there's just random organizations on campus that aren't sponsored by Goizueta as well. So plenty of ways to get involved, plenty of leadership opportunities. And you definitely, there's no shortage of those opportunities, and you want to be intentional because you can't do it all as much as you want to try, and you'll want to do that early on, but eventually you will get settled in place and go to where your interests lie.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think your involvement will depend on what you're looking to get out of a club. So similar to Renee, I was part of the consulting club, and that was a huge resource to me when I was going through the recruiting process this fall and getting ready for interviews. And I think that was really invaluable in making sure that I had what I needed to be successful. Then there's also clubs that are more about building your network or shared interests. So I'm also very involved with the Goizueta Women in Business, and that's been a really great and supportive network of women to be involved with on campus. I'm also part of a leadership board called for our Impact program, which is the experiential learning program at Goizueta, and it's an opportunity for students to be involved in that program. So also had an opportunity as a 1 year to have a leadership role on that team.
So we had a question that just came in that was asking, can you elaborate or give more information about the activities of the Goizueta Impact Investors?
Absolutely. So I wasn't necessarily a part of that club, but the Impact Investors, the funding comes from our SE at G, so our social enterprise at Goizueta. And what they do is they evaluate different nonprofits and figure out the best way to distribute that money to those nonprofits. They're very involved. There's tons of leadership opportunities in those clubs, and there are also synergistic opportunities with our BBA Impact Investing Club as well.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned in the range of clubs and activities, there's also a lot of cultural organizations. Diversity is really a point of emphasis here. Can you talk a little bit about the types of activities that happen around diversity? I know, for instance, that some of our Chinese students put on a Chinese New Year celebration for the entire full-time MBA student body.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I think in the spring, all of the different diversity groups host a KEGS every Thursday. So KEGS is keeping, what does it stand for?
Everyone that goes with
the
a
social. Yeah.
Yes.
So basically it is what it sounds like. There's some KEGS, there's music, there's food. It's just a time for everyone to come and hang out in a non-structured setting. And that was hosted this spring by a different group every Thursday. So we had Latin KEGS, we had Korean KEGS, trying to remember to say the Japanese kegs. So they had food and drinks from their culture. They had different activities to do. So that was really fun and a fun way to kind of experience different cultures with your classmates. Another cool opportunity was they hosted a Holi celebration, which is the Indian event, over one of the weekends, which was really cool. I didn't get to take part in it, but the photos looked amazing. And then, for example, I'm in the GWIB group, the Goizueta Women in Business, and they just hosted yesterday was Equal Pay Day, and so they hosted a fireside chat to talk about issues of equality in the workplace and equal pay. So if that's something you're interested in, there's definitely opportunities to get involved in those types of activities as well.
Go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. Absolutely, it's you go to school to meet people and learn about different businesses, customs, cultures, and the international community. Everyone brings those flavors to the table, and you get those experiences at KEGS, in the classroom, in your teams. You learn about how in the different international modules. You learn about how they do business, their customs, their cultures, and they also want to learn about ours. And it's a fantastic time. And it's a unique opportunity to get to do this.
Absolutely. You kind of teed me up there unknowingly. So the slide that you are about to see right now talks, as Renee mentioned, some of our global opportunities. So as much as we work hard to be inclusive here, diversity obviously is one of our core values here at the business school in the MBA program. And we tried very hard to have not only a diverse class and diverse population and diverse experiences here in Atlanta and on campus, but it's very important for us because we are a global school, and so part of that, as a natural tie-in with your academic curriculum, there are opportunities for you to travel abroad. So what you're seeing right now is some of the global travel opportunities, particularly from this past year. So they're unique both for the one-year program and the two-year program. So if you are part of the one-year program, you will have your first travel opportunity in August after the core is done, and we'll be taking a trip to Brazil. And so we'll be at Rio and Sao Paulo, which will be a fantastic experience, if I say so myself. And then in the spring, all students, regardless of program, have an opportunity to take advantage of our global international mid-semester modules. And what you're seeing right now is a listing of where we were this past year. So we were about 4 or 5 different countries this year. And you're also seeing at the bottom of that slide a couple of the countries where we've been in recent years. As Renee mentioned, these serve for a host of different reasons. For one, it's part of your academic curriculum. So with your curriculum, and you'll learn this more as you hear, for those of you this welcome weekend this weekend, an academic session, we have a global portion of your curriculum. So you have to have a certain number of classes or global experiences to graduate. Like we said, that's very important to us, diversity and globalization, as well as these opportunities. And so you can fulfill that either in a class or on one of these international modules for the 1-year program and for the 2-year program. So they're really fantastic. We could talk on and on about globalization, international modules. The modules work to not only expose you to different cultures, but as Joy mentioned, to give you a real hands-on opportunity with some neat companies and global organizations around the world.
Which mid-semester modules did you guys take part in?
So my first year I went to India, which was fantastic. We had a lot of Indian classmates, and I've always been fascinated with the culture, the food, and it was a blast. Got to see a bunch of businesses and entrepreneurs as well as big businesses like Tata Communications. And then cultural events like touring the Dharavi slums, and then going to see the Taj Mahal was fantastic and beautiful. And then just a fun time with 20 of your closest friends. My second year, I actually did one on campus. Those opportunities are provided as well. And reason being, I welcomed our
the baby, right?
second baby. So there are those opportunities as well for if you don't want to travel abroad, and different international opportunities.
Yeah, so I did the 1-year travel opportunity in August and went to Colombia with Corey, and then just recently got back from the MSM that went to Israel and the UAE, also with Corey. They were both great experiences. Another cool part of the spring mid-semester module is it is right before spring break. So you also have a chance. I was able to tack on some travel with friends at the end of the MSM and go to Jordan and Kenya as well. So that was really cool, and it's great that you have that time set aside to travel if that's something that you're interested in.
That's terrific. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, go back to some of the club activities. We had a question come in regarding the consulting club. So a large number of students at Emory go into consulting. Do you ever feel like you are just another face or get lost in the crowd?
No. I actually was pleasantly surprised at how I did not feel like that. So I was in the 1-year program, and so over the summer I had done a lot of case prep with my 1-year classmates, but as soon as I got to campus in the fall, there was so many other people who were willing to help me prep for interviews or answer questions and talk about their internship experiences that they had had over the summer. And I felt like, honestly, I could just email anybody in that club and they would be happy to set aside an hour or two of their week to meet with me. And that was probably the most helpful thing that I had in all of my interview prep. And I really, really do think people are willing to go out of their way to help you. It's a very supportive community, and everyone wants to see you be successful and are willing to go the extra mile to make sure that you are.
So I feel like I should chime in here and say that we are one of the smallest class sizes of any top 20 business school, and we are intentionally small. So we keep our classes small so we can maintain that intimate learning environment. And Renee, do you have anything? You're in the 2-year program, which is a little bit bigger than the 1 year, but how do you feel in terms of?
Absolutely. I think Goizueta is scaled perfectly with about 170 to 180 in the 2-year program, another 50 to 60 in the 1-year program. You're in a cohort section of about 60 students, 3 sections, and you get to meet almost your entire class because you look at the scale and you can approach it, and it's not as daunting of a task to meet everyone. Maybe some of our peers might be a little bigger, and you might only get to meet some of your people in your section. As far as the recruiting and the clubs, second years are sort of your first line of help there. They're extremely helpful. It's almost a 1-to-1 ratio for most of the career treks, and you definitely, they prepare you for interviews. They look at your resume. Technicals for finance or casing for consulting and marketing. So everyone's extremely helpful. No one is, competitive, and everyone is genuine about it because we all want to see each other succeed and we want to see the school succeed.
That's great feedback. So I'm going to stick with the theme of student clubs for a second here. We had another question come in. While we offer a wide range of clubs, is there support that the program office or the school, university has if someone wants to found a new student club?
Absolutely. And so, given the range of clubs that we have, and Renee can chime in on this as well, that was part of his former role. So yes, the program office, we work very hard to help you create your own experience here. As it was mentioned earlier, we are one of the smallest of the top 20 business schools, and with that, you have access to faculty and staff and administration, and you have an opportunity to create real change here. I think if Goizueta is a place where you want to come and hide, good luck with that. We generally, like me personally, generally knows most of our students, most of them actually by name, so this is not a place you can come and hide. With that, if you have a great idea for a new club, you'll talk to the GBA, Executive Vice President of the GBA, and then you all will come to the program office and we'll support you and walk you through a process. Through the Constitution, there's a process to get a new club chartered and founded. So chances are we already have something like what you're interested in, so it could even be an opportunity for you to link up with a club or an organization that's kind of already going that way. What would you add to that?
Absolutely. Everyone is encouraged to follow their passions and what they want to do here. Everyone's open to start a club. They approach the executive vice president and follow that process, like Corey said. And it's up to you to follow through and lead that club. And if you're successful, then you've just set up students for the future as well. So.
All right, so now it's time to shift gears. Corey, can you take us through a little bit of the actual academics once someone comes into the program?
Sure. So what you're about to see is a slide that we'll talk about. First, we'll start with the 1 year of academics, okay? And so, as you know, as we've talked about, our classes are broken up into cohorts, generally speaking. As Renee mentioned earlier, there are about 50 to 60 folks per cohort for the 2 year program. As I mentioned earlier, we try very hard to have a similar approach with our 1 year program. So with the 1 years, there are about 50 or 60 1 years. So it's almost like a section. And so you will also move through the classes as all together. I've already received several questions. Do I have to register? What's my class schedule like? This is what your class schedule will look like for the summer. You do not have to register, okay? There's you all in the building this summer and us, everyone in our program office, and that's about it. So that's really nice for you all in the summer. I think we all get a bit spoiled with the small class size, and then also with so few people in the building, you have lots of access to the program office, lots of academic support, lots of career support, as well as student support as well. Something else you should know before we get into the details of what your summer will be, we are all available. So I'm available as well as 3 other of my colleagues to do academic advising. And so when you come in, you have an academic advisor. We'll talk with you at length about your schedule, about registration, about your career passions, about where you've been previously from a professional perspective, and then how we can use the curriculum to enhance what you bring to the table to help you get back in the career that you're interested in or find a new one. So what you're seeing is block 1 and block 2, and you'll see some of the courses will go from block 1 to block 2, particularly professional development. You see Cornerstone that will go between the 2 blocks. This happens pretty fast, and Joy can talk a bit more about the speed at which we approach it. You can see the dates, May 21st to July 3rd. There's a small break for the 4th of July holiday here in the United States, and we pick back up on July 5th and go until about August 10th, okay? So we are expecting you to approach this similar to how you approach your job. And so it's an 8 to 4 commitment. Think about it as a work day, plus meeting with your teams, plus finding time with your family, plus review sessions. So you see at the bottom there's reserved time for you to have career preparation as well as some review sessions, and those things will happen on Saturday. For those of you who are in the consortium, I've already received some questions from 1 years. There is time set aside for your orientation program for OP, and so what you will be learning at OP, your classmates will get it here as career preparation days as well, so you will not get behind in our curriculum. Anything else, Joy?
I think that's a really good overview. I'll just add, it seems overwhelming when you look at it like that and you hear like 8 to 4 every day. It really, it is manageable and you will make it through. You'll have a team that's doing all of these classes with you that you'll be working on all the assignments with, so that helps a lot and you can kind of balance the work. It is a lot, but it's definitely something that is doable, and it will fly by. And before you know it, it will be the end of the summer, and you'll be starting classes in the fall.
Going to Brazil.
You can go, going to Brazil sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I'll talk now what you're seeing now for those of you in the 2-year program. I know some of you are still deciding between the 1-year program and the 2-year program, so it's important to consider all things for both. As Joy mentioned, and I failed to mention earlier, so when all of our programs, either the 1-year full-time program or the 2-year program, you are in large sections of about 50 to 60 people. If you're in the 1-year program, as I said, that's your class size. But within that 50 or 60 folks, we split you up into teams of about 5 to 6 people. And with your team, you approach your academic assignments. And so you work together as a team throughout either the summer or the fall semester, all in your core. Similar to 1-year programs, you all in the 2-year program will also have academic advising opportunities. If you're in the 2-year program, we automatically register you for classes before you arrive. So that's not something you have to consider or worry about either. And so with the 2-year, though, it is a bit larger and it's not quite as fast, although it goes by very fast. We have 3 blocks, so block 1, block 2, block 3. You'll notice that economics is only in block 1, so it's really quick. Obviously we start in the middle of August and we kind of go to December. So think about 5 weeks-ish each per block. And so you see like DDA, data decision analytics, will be in block 1, block 2, not in block 3. You have marketing also the same way, that will happen in the first 2 blocks and not in block 3. And some of the other courses you can see, like the financial reporting class, which is essentially accounting, that's in block 2 and block 3. Impact will run all 3 blocks, similar to the 1-year program, as well as our Cornerstone course will run all 3 blocks as well. Again, we encourage you to approach this as you would approach your career. So think 8 to 4, plus team meetings, plus assignments, plus career preparation. And I think that's the really big surprise that will pick up in block 2. And Renee can talk a bit more about this. But once block 2 begins, that's about September, like the middle of September or so, the first or second week in September. And many of you will attend lots of the large career networking conferences to secure your internships, or just to practice and get used to giving your resume walks and your elevator pitches and all that good stuff. So many of our students will frequently go to the large career conferences, and we are very successful there. So you have to consider that picks up. Something else, we've talked a lot about these wonderful clubs and organizations that you'll be part of. Those will kick off a lot around September 1st as well, when all of our student bodies are back here on campus. Similar to the 1 years, for the first block of your core 2-year folks, you have us to yourself. So the 1 years are essentially gone. It's our office team in the building and you all taking classes, and so you kind of get a little spoiled, and then everyone comes back. The BBAs come back, the 2 years come back August 28th. From their internships, and then we have a full house all over again. And so, like I said, it's critical that you all approach this from a business perspective, similar to how you go to work every day. And there are things that you can do. We're going to change slides in just a second here. There are things that you can do. I frequently get the question of, what do I do before I go back to business school?
So, and we do have a question that came in specific to the 2-year schedule. Is there a pre-semester boot camp or something that I have to take part in? I was under the impression I had to be on campus July or early August.
That's a great tee up to what I was about to say. So what we're about to show you now is some onboarding, okay? So that is correct. The onboarding slide is coming your way. So if you are in the 1-year program or the 2-year program, we have about 2 to 3 weeks of onboarding, okay? And this is what you all saw in your admissions letter and your admissions packet. So we'll start with the 1-year program, okay? So if you are an international student, you are required to be here on Friday, May 4th. For the 1-year program. That's when we'll do a lot of your international documentation. You get to meet the community. You get to meet some of the folks who are in the 2-year program before they go off to their internships, who will be your classmates as well. That's on Friday, May 4th. Onboarding then is broken up into community onboarding and academic onboarding. So community onboarding will begin on May 7th, as you see, May 7th through 11th. Then academic onboarding is May 15th through 18th. And I cannot stress enough how important it is that you are not only present physically, but present mentally for the entirety of onboarding. Everything we do during onboarding is for preparation for you to be successful for day 1 in the classroom, okay? And so we'll talk a bit now about community onboarding. And for my 2-year colleagues who are listening in the MBA 20 class, very similar thing for you. However, with international onboarding, that's a full week for our international community, okay? And so that's July 23rd through 27th. And then we have community onboarding and academic onboarding a week each, July 30th through August 3rd, and then August 6th through the 10th. For our academic onboarding as well. Okay, so the themes: international onboarding for either population 1-year MBA or 2-year MBA, getting you acclimated to the United States, getting your legal documentation in order and here and set up appropriately, and then getting you engaged with the community. With community onboarding, so everyone's here for community onboarding. So everyone in the 1-year population and 2-year population for your designated community and academic onboarding. So during community onboarding, you learn your team. We have intense experience with diversity. You have your onboarding overnight, which for the 1-year MBAs will happen at Chateau Lawn. For those of you who are familiar with Georgia, it's about 45 minutes to an hour north. And if you're in the 2-year program, Lake Lanier, very similar path. 45 minutes to an hour north of Atlanta. And that's where you have an opportunity to really engage with your team. It's an overnight. It's a really fun experience, but you bond pretty fast during onboarding, particularly after the overnight experience. Doing community onboarding as well, we'll have some time for you to kind of dive in with Excel as well. We work with some folks from Train the Street, and they do a splendid job to kind of get you ready for the academic onboarding week. Academic onboarding is an opportunity for you to really dive in. So in working with your team, there's a case simulation. You hear from your core faculty. There's an opportunity for you to engage more with our impact experience and what that looks like. As you know, impact is one of our hallmark courses here at the business school that all first-year students, whether you are in the 1-year MBA program or the 2-year MBA program, are required to take, okay? So that happens. There's some, again, more intense Excel, mathematics, statistics sessions that are led by our core faculty members. And so that's the time where you really get to understand and make some mistakes and working together and getting to know your teammates, both from a personal perspective as well as from an academic perspective. That happens during community and academic onboarding, both of which prepares you, as I said earlier, for day one in the classroom.
Okay, so that was a lot of information.
Yes.
Just a reminder, we will be sending these slides as well as this video to you via email. So no worries if you didn't catch those dates. We will get this to you within the next week. Talk to us a little bit about the transition from, full-time employment to business school. How did that transition go for you? How was the onboarding process? How did that enable that transition to hopefully be a little more smooth than what you might have thought?
Absolutely. So I worked close to 6 years before business school, and I was a little worried about getting back into the classroom and starting to study again. But at the same time, it was a nice break from work, and I was looking forward to that. During onboarding, it's very important that you go. During community onboarding, you get to meet all your classmates and start developing those relationships. So by the time you do start core, you feel like you've known them for years. It's also a time where you meet your core team and you start doing team building activities. You know everyone's strengths and everyone's weaknesses, because by the time the core hits, you hit the ground running, starting to tackle those group projects. They're also your first friends and your go-to initially. Academic onboarding, even if you're a business major, it kind of gets your brain juices flowing and gets you back into the academic mode and gives you some refreshers in some of those business concepts and tools. And if you're not a business major, then it helps kick those off as well. That being said, the core is extremely intense. You're doing. It's not that it's the material's that hard. It's just there's a lot at you at one time, and you're recruiting, you're socializing, you're doing clubs, you're involved in the school and the community, as well as all that class time. But if I did it, anyone can do it. So.
I agree with everything Renee said. I think Corey has mentioned a couple times that you should treat the core as though it is your full-time job, and I think that that's great advice. I would say in terms of time commitment, it does feel similar to what you were probably doing in your job before business school, but it is a lot of fun, and I think the onboarding definitely helps get you back in school mode and get you excited, and so definitely a worthwhile experience, and it makes the transition going back to the classroom a lot easier.
I want to just touch on that real quick, that treating it like a workday is probably the best advice you can follow. Block one, while there's more work in block two with recruiting, as Corey said, and more classwork and classes, block one typically it just seems a lot harder for students because they're getting back into swing of things of studying and getting back into school. So if you do treat it like a work day, it helps alleviate some of that pressure and stress from going back to school.
Great.
So let's talk a little bit about how this transition impacts families. Renee, you mentioned you're married, you have two children now.
Two children,
that happened.
yep.
The second one happened in the program. What kind of atmosphere or support does this program offer for your support system at home?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about being intentional with your time. Like you said, I do have two kids and a wife at home. I have an almost 3-year-old and a 7-week-old that it happened in the program. There are definitely plenty of opportunities to get involved, as we touched on earlier. With a family, it's all about being intentional with your time and knowing, if I'm at home, I'm at home with my family. Like, I'm not going to go and play video games, although sometimes I do. But, if you're at school, you do schoolwork, you're with your team, you're getting things done, you're taking care of your tasks with your leadership positions or whatever function you're doing. It's very manageable. Like I said, if I did it, anyone can do it. And I mean that because our community here is extremely supportive, not only the students, but the program office. If you're falling behind, go to your professor. They get to know you by first name, and they're extremely willing to help. If you're ahead, then go help someone else. And this is, one of our core values is community, and it holds true at this school for sure. We have our partners club that we were involved in, and that provides another layer of supports or with other people going through the same thing, with other people in serious relationships, married, with kids, and then our single community is, there's never a shortage of babysitters or people that want to come and hang out with you. Everyone loves kids here, and a lot of times I say my wife is better friends with my classmates than I am. So.
Yeah, I am engaged, and my fiance definitely participated in a lot of the social activities at Goizueta, and I think he is very close friends with a lot of people in my class, and definitely feels part of the group. And so that is definitely something that is very encouraged, and it's a very welcoming environment at Emory, which is great.
So as far as the Partners Club, we do have a Partners Club that is very involved in campus. We have a great leadership team, and the partners are invited to pretty much everything, and they are a part of the community. During Welcome Weekend, Partners Club will have a variety of activities to do so that, if you are coming in from out of town and you feel like you're not going to know anyone, get your partners involved. Part of the reason why, I came here was because of that, and my wife fell in love with it as well. So very supportive community culture and ways to get involved. It is a club like any other club, so, they have a budget and they do things. They go out on the weekends, during the week to happy hours, cooking classes, etc.
In addition to that, with the Partners Club, so I've received several questions about partners and Partners Club's activities, as Renee mentioned. So when we are at the overnight, either at Chateau Elan or at Lake Lanier, there will be a Partners Club dinner, okay? And so you all will receive, for those of you who are attending Welcome Weekend this weekend, make sure your partner, as he said, attends the Partners Club things on Friday and Saturday, but know that during onboarding, while we are away at our overnight, there will be a Partners Club event, a pretty fantastic dinner that I'm missing at Murphy's Restaurant, which is here in Atlanta. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, I think, a good point of emphasis. We have a lot of students in the program. It's a good mix, some with families, some in serious relationships, a vibrant singles community as well. But we really make a point of making sure that everyone kind of intermingles and supports one another. So I'm going to move on here to a question about leadership development. It's a point of emphasis in our program. Corey, can you talk a little bit about how we build leadership development into the MBA program, both in the curriculum and non-curricular activities?
Sure. And I'll ask my colleagues here to chime in as well. So leadership development. So, you all are leaders, right? That's one of the reasons why you're accepted to come to a top 20 business school. You're leaders. One of the things you come back to do to business school is polish your leadership skills to be even better when you go back into the workforce than when you were before you came back to business school. We do that in a variety of ways. So as part of the curriculum, what you'll have to experience is a leadership course. So we're quite intentional about developing leaders here at Goizueta, both from an academic perspective, an extracurricular perspective, as well as with student clubs and organizations as well. So leadership course will happen. As part of the leadership course, particularly for the one-year program, it's built in where we have an experiential learning opportunity down in Fort Benning. And Joy can talk a bit about that. So that's built into your leadership course. Kind of high level, Fort Benning is a military training or military facility here in the state of Georgia. There's a leadership training center there where some of the veterans come in and volunteer their time on Saturdays to take our students through an intensive leadership course with their teams. It's quite fantastic, and that opportunity obviously is built in for the one-year program curriculum, but that opportunity is available for two-year students as well. That's also a great opportunity for you to engage, not only with folks in the one-year or two-year full-time program, but as well as with our executive and working professional programs as well. Leadership Coaching Fellows. So Leadership Coaching Fellows is an opportunity with our Dean of Leadership, General Ken Keene, where our students, our second-year students, and if you're a one-year, once you're done with the core, we consider you a second-year student because you're about to graduate, where our students have an opportunity to serve as leadership coaches to all of our student teams. And so that's a great development program, and not only with the service that you provide and paying it forward to first-year MBA students who are going through the core and beyond, but then also as an opportunity to network, opportunities for you to have additional coaching, both from General Keene and other colleagues, and some from our alumni community as well. And then we talked a bit, obviously at length, about our student clubs and organizations and the leadership opportunities that are there. In addition to those things, we are in a great community and a great city, Atlanta. So we've had a host of our students be engaged with leadership development with Emory, so with Emory as a university, both from the Graduate Student Government Association perspective, as well as some other initiatives around the Emory University community. We actually have a first year who is going this summer to Africa with a project of reconciliation in Africa, and that's a greater Emory opportunity experience that only comes along so many months every couple of years, and so we're really excited to have one of our MBAs to be part of that. A number of our students are very similar to you, or quite socially engaged and politically engaged, and so we've had students, actually a couple of current students who one in particular I'm thinking of right now is working on a gubernatorial campaign. We've had folks working with senators and state legislative officers, and so those are leadership opportunities as well. What you all already know is coming to a dynamic global city like Atlanta provides you opportunities not only to grow and to develop as a leader here within our Goizueta and Emory bubble, but also within the city of Atlanta as well. Is there anything you all would like to chime in on?
I think that's a really good overview, and like Corey touched on, I think that there's a lot of formal leadership opportunities, and then I think I definitely felt like I developed as a leader in some of the informal settings as well. So Renee talked a little bit about you're on your team for all of core, and I think that's a great opportunity for you to develop as a leader among your peers and kind of test that out in a small group setting. I think that was a really impactful experience for me. And then when you add that in with some of the more formal leadership opportunities, I think you really get a well-rounded experience.
Absolutely. Leadership it's practice, and it's integrated into every course here on campus. It's not just accounting and finance isn't just number crunching. There are leadership opportunities there, and the professors practice it in their case studies, and you talk about it and do it and practice being a leader ethically. Also, I was a leadership coaching fellow. That's a unique experience in which you get to coach a first-year core team through their process, not telling them what to do, but getting the best out of them, helping them identify their weaknesses and flaws before they become problems, and practicing your leadership skills. So yes, leadership extremely important and highly emphasized at this school.
In addition to those things, I do want to talk briefly. I know some of you are acquainted with our Goizueta Advanced Leadership Academy, and so we call it GALA here for short. But the Goizueta Advanced Leadership Academy provides an opportunity really for students to work on themselves and their leadership in a team environment. So fellows apply and are selected in the fall semester to be GALA fellows. And then you work closely with some of our leadership development folks here You are put then into a team where there are different opportunities, as I said, for you to work on yourself as a leader. So lots of experiential opportunities, lots of self-reflection and development, lots of taking the things, as we said, you're strong leaders, and that's one of the reasons why you're accepted to this program, but lots of taking lots of your leadership traits and kind of considering them from a different lens while you're here in business school. This experience culminates with our Gala Fellows really putting their leadership to the test in an all-out regatta in the British Virgin Islands. So during the spring break week, there's an opportunity for our leadership fellows, and it's actually a requirement, our Gala Fellows, to put their leadership to action and sail a boat. And so it's quite interesting being on a boat with folks who, many of which have never done that before, but taking their leadership lessons learned and being in a team environment on a boat for a full week. So it's quite a unique experience and quite a great opportunity that we have at Goizueta.
So a big part of the student experience is the location in which you have that experience.
Sure.
Corey mentioned Atlanta is a dynamic global city. I'd love to hear the perspective from the two of you. Renee, you're from Texas, so this is a bit of a change for you. How is the city of Atlanta treating you, and how does it feed into your experience?
Yeah, so when I was looking for an MBA program, I was looking for a bigger city and somewhere where my family had a community and could integrate and have that support. So Atlanta was, fit that bill. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. If you drive to the south, you see all the green trees. And the city has changed a lot even in the past decade from what I hear. There are tons of things to do here. Corey has a big list of restaurants and places to go eat that you definitely want to get your hands on. Different types of food, different place to go out. There's the Fox Theater, different movie theaters, Piedmont Park, the Beltline, Pont City Market, and tons of things to do for the family as well. We're members of the Georgia Aquarium, the Children's Museum, the Zoo, Fernbank Museum, so places for the kids to always have something to do on the weekends when they're not at daycare and at home. And then, of course, job opportunities for my wife. That was extremely important. And so being in the medical field, if you're part of that, she was, and it was very easy to get that in Atlanta, especially with the Emory backing.
Yeah, I was actually in Atlanta prior to coming back to Goizueta and wanted to stay in Atlanta because I really love the city so much. I think it is a city that's changing and evolving a lot in a good way. There's so many things to do outdoors, which I love and to take advantage of. There's really something for everyone, but it's still an approachable city, so it's still affordable to live here. It's easy to get around, and so I really love that. I think also in terms of the business connections that we have in Atlanta is really invaluable. We work all the time with the business community as part of the business school, so they sponsor projects, they send in mentors, they send in coaches, and then there's also a lot of opportunities to engage with them in more informal networking, and I think that is a really valuable part of building your network during business school. So.
Absolutely. Now I'll add to that, a couple of things. So as Joy mentioned, the opportunities for business professionals to come to campus. One of the beauties of being in Atlanta is the number of Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here in Atlanta. Obviously, Delta and the airport. And my God, I love to travel. So the airport is fantastic. You can get anywhere from Atlanta, which is great. Delta's here, Home Depot's here, Carter's is here, Chick-fil-A is here, Coca-Cola companies here. The list goes on and on of the number of companies that are here in Atlanta. That's great for you as a student because, as we've said, we have connections and alums, and I can't speak enough about our alumni network and how fantastic and accessible they are. For those of you who are here this weekend for Welcome Weekend, you'll get to engage with a number of our alums in a variety of different ways. But they're so accessible and they're so active within not only career placement and career opportunities, but in addition to that, in our classroom and giving us feedback and doing mock interviews with our current students. They are accessible. We've mentioned a number of times that we are a small, intimate learning environment. And that small environment goes beyond the walls of Goizueta. Included in that, in our community, is our community of alumni, whereas we obviously are small, but we have access to our alums and they actually respond. As I shared with you all earlier, I've been here for about 13 years. Can't tell you how many alumni phone numbers I have in my phone, and I text them and say, just this morning actually with a prospective student, we have this student coming, they're interested in Microsoft. I know one of our students has an internship there, we have some alums with connections, can you help us out? Already got a response. And so we have, it's the community that does not end when you graduate. I mean, I'm sad to see these folks graduate, but the relationship isn't over. It's just a new beginning of a different part of the relationship. So we have that. They did not touch on the sports teams. And I love going to the sports things, both professional and college football that's here. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is fantastic. It's home not only to the Falcons, but also to Atlanta United, to our soccer team, and that's all kind of energy when you go to one of those soccer games. But the sports community is great here in Atlanta as well. Brave Stadium is here as well. So it's a really fantastic, dynamic city to live in.
All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap it up now because Joy has a 1 o'clock class, so we got to get her to. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you to the panelists. I really appreciate it. We have one more web chat coming up May 2nd where we talk a little bit more about the power of Atlanta, both career and lifestyle opportunities here. So we'll go even more in depth in what we just touched on. So thank you for your time, and hopefully you can join us on May 2nd. And one last time, I'll say that we are going to send this out to you via email, both the video and the slides.